I don't know, maybe I'm getting older, maybe I'm getting out of touch, but I just recently drove by like maybe 3 or 4 separate people walking down the street with their hand in their phone like this the whole time. I seen a dude walking with headphones on and his hand like this in his phone, just walking down the street, not even paying attention to the world around him. Then I look and I see a guy walking a dog, something that's traditional, with his hand in his phone. I see another person walking across the street, hand in their phone, same thing. It's just, I'm starting to realize, like, man, these devices and just where we are in this world, it got us consumed, man. Like, people love this world more than they love anything. And the funny thing is, this is the same world that betrays people. You know what I mean? In a sense. And I'm just like, wow, just thinking to myself, like, growing up, I had a sense of the real world around me, man. Like, I was outside, you know what I mean? And I'm sure you heard plenty of people talk like this, you know what I mean? But it's crazy how things in this generation, man, people ain't built how they say they built. That's another thing too. Like, I feel like times like this have challenged the mental, I guess I want to say mental toughness of people. I can see why we living in a time where so many mental health issues are attacking people. Nobody's taught to be strong, man. And it's just like looking at the way you consume the world through a device only is crazy. And I understand I'm talking through a device right now, reaching people, I guess. But it comes a time where you still supposed to know the world around you. And at some point you got to be able to comprehend life without, I guess, being trained by devices and mechanics. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, this is just some crazy times. And I'm looking at it like, man, as a kid, I could just remember so many different things that shaped my mental toughness that probably should have attacked me or took me out, but it made me stronger to be able to handle things. You know, for an example, my genuineness and love for the sport of basketball didn't even come from the actual game itself, playing the actual game, or just growing up. I can remember a time where just in the early 90s, in the crack era, that's the era that I grew up in. I remember my mom and stepdad took me and my brother and left us in this abandoned building, abandoned apartment, like a duplex or whatever. And literally they gave us they gave us a box of cereal, a bunch of boxes of small cartons of cereal, a gallon of milk, and like some lunch meat. And they threw us in this dark apartment. And when I tell you, it's like all they had was like a backlight on from the bathroom or the kitchen, and then some light coming through the alley, through the shades. And during the day in the living room, it was like a big living room where during the day the lights would come on, like the sun would shine through and we could see. But at night the living room would get so dark we can barely see. And so me and my brother cut out the cardboard boxes of cereal, like the little small boxes that you would get in school back then. We cut out the bottom and literally rolled up a sock and played sock ball all day. I'm talking about all day, up probably from sun up to sundown till we fell asleep. Couldn't even see in the dark. And that really kept us from thinking where our mother was. Like, they just left us for days in this abandoned place. But sun up to sundown, we just playing sock ball, eating. We didn't even rationalize the food that we was eating. Like, you know, they just threw us in it. They just basically threw us in this abandoned apartment, no furniture or nothing. And so we didn't even have the sense to rationalize that we was eating up all our food too early. So a couple of days go by, the food getting low, we starting to get hungry. But my interest was like, okay, I seen my brother start to peek around. He's starting to, you know, he's a little older. So next thing you know, he's going outside looking around, trying to find out, you know, the surroundings. I'm watching the door just in case it's slammed or something and we get locked out. Thank God it was in the summertime though. That was the crazy part. It was more so warm out at that time. I'm glad it wasn't in the winter. But I could just remember that, like, man, thinking to myself, like, man, this is crazy. When I look back, so a couple days go by, like probably like like about 4 or 5 days go by. Next thing you know, my stepdad come out of nowhere and grab us. But just leaving us in that predicament of a 6 or 7-year-old and a 10, 11-year-old, just leaving them like that is crazy. But that shaped my mental toughness, and so many different things throughout my childhood did that. But man, I'm looking back, man, I'm just seeing the world we live in, and all we care about is what's in front of us. We don't have no remembrance or no care of what was before us or what's to come after. And that's the thing that's crazy, man, when I look back. And so I'm just sitting there saying, man, for anybody out there dealing with in this generation, man, I would say anybody that's under 25 or under 30 or under, man, you living in a world where you under attack, man. Like, and even people older than that. It's people from my generation and my age group and era that's still like, they ain't got it together. They ain't waking up. But it's so easy to finesse the minds of the youth today. It's so many different people with so many different voices and so many con men and scammers and schemers and crafty men out here that can speak to people and win friends and influence people. Man, I just hope that whoever this reach, you can just be mentally tough out here and realize, like, man, it's some real times out here that's really attacking people. But the things that shaped my mental toughness, and that was just one story, but it's countless other things that have happened that have shaped me and shaped my mind. So yeah, man, I just hope that, you know, this generation don't get lost, man. I ain't got much else to say.